Hi, I'm Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style. Let's talk about colour contrast and choosing patterns. So colour contrast relates back to the colour wheel, and I'll link to a blog post in this video where you can go and read more about this and understand more about your colour contrast. But really, if we're thinking about it, we're thinking about how the colours of the colour wheel are reflected in our own colouring, and then what the relationships of those colours actually are. So for example, if I was a redhead with green eyes, I'd have a fairly complementary colouring. And that's a very high colour contrast. If I was a golden blonde with green eyes, I would have an analogous colour contrast. So they're two colours or two or three colours that sit next to each other on the colour wheel. If I've got blue eyes and golden blonde hair, then I have a triadic colour contrast. They're sitting in what we call a triad relationship on the colour wheel. So they're just some simple little examples of different colour contrasts. And for some people too, if I've got, say brown hair, brown eyes and a beige skin, then I've got a monochromatic colour contrast. So monochromatic just means one colour at a time. Mono meaning one, chromatic meaning colour. Black and white is not monochromatic. Black and white is actually achromatic, meaning without colour. So let's talk about patterns and colour. So when we're thinking about choosing patterns, we want to create a harmony and a balance between your natural colouring and what you're wearing. That way the pattern doesn't wear you so much and you wear the pattern. You're the feature rather than the clothes always being the feature, because when the clothes are the feature, they really often create a body focus, and many of us don't really want our bodies to be the sole focus of what people are looking at. We'd rather people are focusing on our faces and where we're communicating from. As I always say, if you're looking in my eyes, you're not looking at my thighs. So here is a monochromatic pattern. So it's just pink and white. So totally monochromatic, one colour at a time. Here is a just slightly higher colour contrast. We've basically got two shades of teal and turquoise with a white background. So that's basically it's still very low colour contrast with a neutral background. Then we're moving here to an analogous colour contrast. So what I've got here is the purples, the reds and the pinks. So they sit around here on the colour wheel. We've got a little purple, red, pink, slightly into blue. That is an analogous colour contrast. So pretty much anybody can wear that as well. Anybody can wear one colour at a time. Anybody can wear, analogous colour schemes. But then when we get to a higher colour contrast like this, so here we've got multiple colours. We've got all over the colour wheel. We've got the yellow, we've got the red, we've got the blue, we've got the green. We're really going all over the colour wheel with this pattern. So this is a high colour contrast, and it gets harder to wear if you're not naturally high colour contrast. But it really suits those people who do have high colour contrast. If you've got a high colour contrast, you'll look much better in multicoloured patterns than single colour ones. And if you're not sure, one of the things you can do is actually go and have a look at, say, your favourite scarf or a favourite pattern that you own. And very often it relates back to your natural colouring. I often find scarves are key to this, where it's like, oh yeah, I really love this scarf that's just shades of blue or shades of green or whatever it might be, which is for a monochromatic person. Or you'll have someone who's got this, dynamic, multicoloured scarf, or it might be, this is something I really love. It's just a few shades. It's more analogous. It's not over the top. But I really enjoy wearing this, and I think it suits me very well. So when we're thinking about, though, going outside of our natural colour contrast, one of the things you can do, and one of the ways you can do it, is by thinking about what the pattern is actually like. So if you've got a smaller, delicate pattern where the different colours are less obvious, like this is a little bit easier to wear than if I've got a pattern like this, where the different colours are very bold, very bright and very obvious. You can see that this doesn't feel as high colour contrast as this one does. And that's just because it's still got blue and yellow and green and red, but because it's more subdued and because the way the elements of the pattern are put together are smaller and more delicate, it's much easier to pull this off if you're not a high colour contrast than this one is. Another thing to look at is, say, a blended print like this here. We've got this almost like a watercolour wash. We've got pink, we've got blue, we've got green, all in one pattern, but because it's kind of really blended, it flows together and it's much easier to wear. So have a look at your color contrast. Think about what you're actually putting together and how you like to put those things together, because that's often a key to what really works on you.